Doesn't. Listen. Listen.
This presentation is a bit of a remix. It starts with some words said at the 1994 Computers and Writing Conference. A man there heard the words and said, "Do more of this." The words begin. A man steps onto a frustrating bus. It won't stop at certain signs. It stalls and breaks down, always already late. The bus rumbles and bumps, jarring a spot in the back of his mind. He rubs the spot like a worry stone. Here comes the new mix, more words. We're talking about teaching and asking people, not satisfied, somewhat satisfied, very satisfied, somewhat satisfied, somewhat satisfied, not satisfied, very satisfied, not satisfied, somewhat satisfied, somewhat satisfied, somewhat satisfied, somewhat satisfied, not satisfied. Now the remix thesis gets woven more into the fabric. It's a chronology and a taxonomy of instructional materials that raise the question, are we really doing enough to help students become composers of new media? The multimedia supplement to the Little Brown Handbook gives writers a lot of information, and they get it through the computer. But the information is geared toward the writing process and print papers. Let's listen to some of the new media I created here.
As a writer, learning to consider your audience is one of the most important lessons you can get from understanding the writing situation. Think about a simple phrase, something like, "We've got to protect our rights." Now, different audiences will interpret this phrase differently. Imagine an audience of music and
no doubt that kind of information can be given through a bullet point on a page. The other thing to keep in mind here is that this project is made with authorware, TK3 software, but the author, myself, is divorced from the process. I was allowed to submit content, but a production group created the actual CD. Now let's take a look at another multimedia project. This project accompanies an Introduction to Literature textbook. Unlike the previous project created using authorware, this project was created by programmers, and it relied on the outsource model, using authors as content providers. Notice also how it talks about how literature can be more than words on a printed page, but then eventually asks students or directs them to say that you can respond in writing to additional questions about the media explorations. Respond in writing. And let's look at some of the materials provided here.
The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full.
Electronic instructional materials should provide resources, but should they provide them as consumables, or rather as raw materials?
My brandy tongue was like a caterpillar thing. Susie hung up on Joan of Arc. Oh, Joan! Cloudily gave me the key to that dog.
Love is a dog from hell. Feet of cheese, coffee pot soul, hands that hate pool sticks, eyes like paper clips. I prefer red wine. I am bored on airliners. I am docile during earthquakes. I am sleepy at funerals. I puke at parades and am sacrificial at chess. and cunt and caring. I smell urine in churches. I can no longer read.
But the bus runs on time, adumbrating along and shuddering toward a stop. The bus hisses, an evil symbol he recalls in contrast to a dream he once had of shedding his skin. Over time and with practice, one hopes to mix more new media activities into the instructional soup. So back to our taxonomy. This project was composed with Authorware, TK3 software, which allowed me to have the control over what the project would look like. I could add images where I wanted images. I could add sounds. Rather than using an outsourced production team model, the lone author is better able to compose a new media instructional resource. This autonomy leads to an integrated instructional resource where sounds and images are used in the service of the lesson one wants to teach. But does this necessarily translate into more new media composing opportunities for students? The question's rhetorical.
Explaining what a song is about is far less exciting than having someone who's heard the song explain to you what they think it's about.
Now the man on the bus and the man at the mouse join, composing with malted media, but all the while hearing in the back of the mind a nagging whisper, watch me work. Making a collage lets you compose with an image editor. Start with some questions. Who is my audience? What are my interests? What contexts shape who I am? And what images can I use? Next, you'll need to collect images. You can use images that you've taken yourself with a digital camera, or stills from a video, or you can scan images. You can also find images from sites like the Library of Congress, Flickr.com, or other sites that allow you to download and use images. Be sure to respect intellectual property concerns as you gather images. The key is to select a number of images that will let you show people something about yourself visually. To compose with these images, you will use an image editor. Begin by opening one of the images you would like to use. We're going to start with a larger image that can serve as a background for our collage. Notice I said our collage, even though this is a collage that I'm making on my computer and recording it to include in the instructional materials. In many ways, this is asking students to go another step, to not write a paper, but actually use an image editor and create something visual. At the same time, it's not really demonstrating students doing that activity. So, back to our taxonomy. There's more of a movement toward visual composition for students, but that movement is not quite complete. And it should be noted that this project is being created with the outsourced production company model. I'm providing these video tutorials, but I have very little say in what the overall CD or instructional product will look like. In many ways, the autonomy is a microcosm of the larger project, whereby I can author the tutorial to express what I want to express, but without the right authorware for the entire CD, that expression stops short of creating something entirely revolutionary. So, we're driven to familiar places, but a moment of departure approaches. The bus slows, and horizons stretch before us like wires. Colored thoughts expand in the distance. The bus rolls toward its final stop. The door opens. He hesitates before knowing he must step off. The bus is